Misleading and inaccurate claims. One of the very first areas you need to understand about compliant copywriting is the governing policy that tells you all the do's and don'ts about what you can do and what you can't do with your copywriting. The misleading and inaccurate claims policy, and by the way, this policy name changes all the time, but the concepts remain the same. Bottom line is they don't want users to feel misled by any ad or website that they have on a network. They want it to be clear and honest and forthright and easy to see all the information provided to the users about what's really going on behind all of the copywriting that you're doing. That's why they created this policy, for those who really don't clearly explain what's going on, to protect the 15%. Now, as a copywriter, this is going to be one of the things that give you the most heartburn, because you know those words and those emotions and those things to tug, but you're going to always have to balance it out with not crossing the line and not being misleading. Within this policy, there's very specific areas that the policy team will make you responsible for, will be looking for, and quite frankly, if they find a problem, they're going to take you down. For example, misleading information. If there's information omitted from the site, let's say you don't have a privacy policy, for example, but you have a form collecting personal information. This can be a problem for you. Not only does it put you in the realm of information harvesting, but it also creates misleading and inaccurate information, because you're going to put a promotion on that site, but without the proper disclosure, like in a privacy policy, then this can be seen as misleading. Another example is if you work for the government, if you're selling services related to the government, but you don't put the proper disclosure that you're not affiliated with the government in any way, shape, or form. Some people might think you are the governmental service itself. Later to find out that you're not, get angry, ask for a refund, do chargebacks, complain to the FTC, complain to Google, complain to their mom, their dad, their cousins or sisters, every single review site out there in the world. That is another example of missing information that could actually come back and harm you. Another area that they're going to be looking for in your copy is something called unavailable offers. Now, if you're making a promotion for some discount or some offer, and it doesn't actually exist on the landing page that people land on when they click on your ads, then this is considered misleading or even inaccurate. Overall, all the content, all the time they spend on your website coming directly from what you promised needs to be available, as Google says, within 1 or 2 pages of the click. So make sure that you're not promising things that you can't put on the landing page or immediately after the landing page, because that's going to be considered an unavailable offer. The other thing has to do with competitive claims in your copy. Now, let's be honest. You're not the only people out there advertising in your space. And one of the most effective ways to write copy is, I'm better than them. However, if you create unsubstantiated claims just to entice people over to your way, and you do not back those up with verified third-party claims or something that you've proven without a shadow of a doubt, Google's going to consider it misleading or inaccurate. This can be a problem for internet marketers, because typically you're not the only internet marketer out there, so you're all jockeying for position to find some way to be better than the next person. Well, quite frankly, don't cross the line. Don't make claims that can't be proven. In fact, I would stay away from claims of you being better than a competitor if you don't have validated results altogether. And what's a validated result? A third-party review is a validated result, research study, something that can adequately give you permission to be able to do that. The other thing with competitive claims that we often see is within this is something called a trademark policy. And oftentimes your competitors may have their product, brand, name, whatever the case may be, trademarked and registered with Google. Well, Google has specific rules that you're not allowed to use those trademarks in your advertising unless you were given express permission from the trademark owner. So that is also a concern if you start making claims concerning the trademark without permission to actually do it. So be very careful here in your copy. Unclear relevance. Now, this can be a tough one for a lot of my health and wellness clients that I work with, because a lot of copy I see written has enticing things that really don't talk about the actual product and service. Maybe they talk about foods people eat. Maybe they talk about some exercise but they're a supplement company. Just things that are not exactly what they're promoting. We call these items clickbait. Now, clickbait is a well-taught thing with headlines and talking about things that really draw people's interest, especially when you're doing a lot of content network advertising. But if Google can't draw direct correlations between your product and what you're offering, they will hit you with unclear relevance with your copywriting. So avoid being vague and non-specific and unrelated to what your product and service actually are. Now, the last and most serious, and the one that requires the deepest dive, is untrustworthy promotions. This category of misleading and inaccurate claims causes Google to sever their relationship with you altogether. Within this category, it's the most serious, but they've deemed that your copywriting is so egregious that you're no longer a safe person to do business with. You see a lot of scams get put into this category. You see a lot of misleading business models get thrown into here. And quite frankly, you see a lot of legitimate businesses thrown into here if their copywriting runs amok. Completely legitimate product, completely legitimate service, maybe even a mainstream product or service, but it's all about the copywriting that got them thrown into this category. There are 3 areas within the untrustworthy promotions category that affect legitimate businesses, and they get swept up into this one all the time. And they're so special, they get their own categories. So in the next 3 videos, we're going to do a deeper dive into untrustworthy promotions and drill into 3 categories of advert policy violations with your copywriting that you may at first glance don't think they relate to you in any way. But the reality is many internet marketers, many affiliate marketers, many business owners are being thrown into these 3 categories unknowingly, simply because of the copywriting rules Google specifically has in these areas. So next up, we're going to talk about the get rich quick policy, the get thin quick policy, and miracle cures.